Welcome back to Zaid Ibrahim podcast, and this is the last segment of my conversation with Dato Ambiga. Ambiga, I want to ask you this question about the role of women in our, not just politics, in the whole Malaysian transformation program, if I can call it. I somehow believe that women are more capable than what people think. And there are a lot more women in the universities now than before, in the civil service, in the professional group. And I think women are less prone to excesses, extremism, I think, than men. And that's just my observation. So I expect them to be more involved. But I don't see an active women's movement besides a few NGOs here and there. What's your take?
Yeah, I do think that, we can't even achieve the 30% involvement of women in politics and elsewhere. We haven't even got to 30%. It should be, in my view, 50%. Okay, so no point talking about empowering women. Everybody loves talking about empowering women if you don't give them power as well. So we have amazing women, okay? And in fact, in the last PH government, we had some superb women, not only in government, but also in, multinationals and holding very important posts. And it brought something, to the table, I think, without a doubt. I actually think, as I said before, it should be 50%. But we are in a very patriarchal society. Even the current government, okay, it's men heavy. Sorry, all right. You give two women positions, and then you say, "Oh, we've got women involvement." That's not enough. Where's your 30%? At least meet the 30% criteria, if nothing else. And women, there is no reason to believe that women can't do the job or they're, not qualified. We have very qualified women, and you know them. You know the women who are. I can name so many actually. To any number of posts that you have, I can name equal as many men you suggest. I can suggest equal number of women who are qualified. So yes, I think the women's movement must be stronger, but more important than that, we have to move away from this patriarchal society. That is the difficulty. The women are not allowed to advance. So we're still fighting. We're fighting child marriage, by the way. Still,
Yeah.
right? So, and we can't seem to get that going.
Yeah.
And there's so many issues in relation to women that we just can't seem to get past the laws.
Yeah, and especially I notice also that because we have this dual system, the Sharia system, the Sharia courts, and the only woman group that I see very actively involved is the Sisters in Islam, which some of the Muslim think it is deviant.
Yes.
But I would have thought that Anwar Ibrahim, coming from his scholarship, his worldview about reform, I thought he would make some changes towards this. The dominance of the men in the Sharia system, and because Muslims make 64% of the country, and they should have more women in the judicial system, in the social, in the economic fields, But we are not seeing that. Is there hope? Because we are patriarchal, we are Islamic, we are prone to having men deciding everything. Is there hope?
Yes. You see, you mentioned the judiciary. We're not bad on women representation, at the higher levels of the judiciary, even the federal court. Many women are sitting there. There are more than 50% of the legal profession are women, by the way.
Is that so?
Yes.
I think we should put a law
limiting
them.
No. Increasing. So it can be done. And the more and more education that women have, I think we'll get there. But it's not fast enough, because they are actively being put down. This is the problem. If you leave nature alone, it will occur. But when you have this patriarchy that is always so as you say, sisters in Islam, they're amazing women there.
Yes.
Really amazing women, and they're internationally recognized. Okay, and they speak from religious texts. It's not that they're speaking from nothing. So, but no one would even engage in a debate with them, and that's part of the problem. No one wants to even engage in that debate. So how do you change minds? But I think it is happening when you look at the younger generation. So if I take Muda, for instance, just as an example, they have their own issues at the moment, but there are some amazing women in Muda who are forthright on the constitutional amendments. They were very vocal. They do their research. They know what they're talking about. Really good women. And so I think there is hope. I do. But it's too slow. Why can't they at least, and I think you're right, PMX has the credentials, has the Islamic credentials to actually set the stage to have, for these things to be discussed and for this to move forward.
Yeah.
He can do it, because of his knowledge. So he can. So when they don't do it,
Unfortunately, his instinct is to bring 24,000 Tafiz students in a stadium to show his Islamic credential. You don't have to do that. You can do other things that are more difficult to do.
Yes.
Let Zaid Hamidi handle this, or whoever,
Yeah.
Or maybe he asked Zaid to do it. I don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't know. And I think people can see what is going on. And I suppose they're surprised, they're disappointed, actually, with the way things are going. I mean, I can tell you that. Because as I said, when I go out, people are coming and saying, we never expected this. This is not a side they necessarily saw before, that we all necessarily saw. And I'm thinking to myself, actually, and that's the other reason I made the dictatorial comment. We walk the streets, if you we know that.
Yeah.
With the PH members of Pakatan Harapan. We walked the streets, we took the tear gas, we fought like mad for the same things.
Yeah.
For the same
and I got my trousers torn. Because
right.
let me tell you, just I was jumping, the tear gas was near the Sligo Club.
Yes.
So I was running away from that. So there was this fence, and I'm so fat. So it's so difficult for me to climb. I tore my trousers. But anyway, that's my contribution.
Sacrifice for the country, yes.
That's my contribution to reform.
No, but having done all that, you see, all I'm saying is they should know better. This government should know better, not UMNO. PH,
Yes.
you must know better. And because you're facing us, and by the way, we're now being called liberals, by the way.
Yeah.
Us liberals who were on the streets with you are now being
Called.
labeled, because obviously for them it's negative, it's not for me, but liberals. Suddenly we are the liberals. Okay? So that's why people are alarmed, because when these masses went to the streets, and in fact, if I were them, I would have a picture of that on my table every single day, because you need to see that this is the effort of the people, that these are the people you're letting down. And my thinking is, and I said to someone recently, I said, when I went to the streets and we all went to the streets, we did it for the country. But some of these politicians did it for themselves.
Yeah.
That's where the difference is.
I think that's very profound. But are there still enough people outside who you think will continue the struggle, will go to the streets if necessary?
I'm waiting for people to go to the streets. There's some of the youngsters still do.
Do you think there are still energy left?
No.
There's no disillusionment?
There is disillusionment and there is a lack of energy, honestly, because honestly, and it's sad, because they're pained actually at what they're seeing. They're crippled, they feel crippled, they don't have the energy because they fought so hard for so many years.
Yeah.
Now everybody wants to live happily. I mean, we're not expecting perfect government.
Yeah, of course.
Just follow what you promise lah.
Yeah.
Just follow some even,
Some,
or
if
start.
not all, yeah.
Start. So yeah, and I think one of the other things I wanted to mention is this whole thing about combating corruption and so on. What's interesting is that they actually, I must read this to you, and this feeds into a few other things. Okay, it talks about the MACC Chief Commissioner. This is their manifesto. Nomination of the MACC Chief Commissioner must be vetted by a bipartisan parliamentary special committee. This will ensure the nomination of a truly neutral candidate who will not protect the interests of any specific party. They're in breach of that.
Oh, yeah. They've ignored that.
They've ignored that. Is that difficult to implement?
No.
Is UMNO against that?
Yes.
If they say UMNO is against, tell us.
Well,
you can do it. You can get this done.
Well, it could be very powerful people who may be against it. Because we are, as you know, I don't want to be blunt, but sometimes I have to be. Now, we have an oligarchy in this country, as you know, who controls a lot of things. Very powerful. So, but you're right. I mean, MACC is probably the first thing they should do.
Yeah.
Because that's the mother of all
Of course.
a mechanism to deal with corruption in its true sense. Yeah.
And all it means is, and this is for any, this whole thing of referring to a bipartisan parliamentary special committee is a good idea. All key vital appointments should go that way. Of course, for the judiciary, you have the
JAC.
JAC.
Yes.
That's different. But any other key appointments should go through Parliament. This is your manifesto. On what basis are you departing from almost every single thing I read out just now?
Yeah.
Almost every single thing you're departing from. Just tell us why.
And all we've heard about MACC's independence was that they said, we have 5 oversight committees in MACC. But I said, these oversight committees, how independent are they? They get good money, probably, and they'll be renewed year after year after year. And if it is better, I think, if these committees are, as you said, be appointed by an independent group or comprised of people who are not appointed by the Prime Minister.
Yes.
At the moment, all this goes to the Prime Minister's office.
This is where the issue is.
The concentration of power is with the Prime Minister.
It's
So
tremendous.
Prime Minister controls MACC, Prime Minister controls the Attorney General's office, the Prime Minister controls whatever else, and of course, he has a few $1 billion under Prime Minister's department, the funds that he can use, So
absolute power, in other words.
He has absolute power.
Which is why they have to be more responsible about it. And they have a plan for it. They have a very nice plan. If you read this manifesto, it's very well written.
I wonder who wrote this.
Really well written. Really well written. And, I think they should just follow this. And if they're not following it, tell us why. Explain to the people why certain things don't make sense, But that's not there. Instead, they, as I say, they delete tweets and do that. And I can't believe that they're so afraid of the people. But, as Aung San Suu Kyi said, right, it's not power that corrupts, but fear of losing power that corrupts. And so I don't mean money corruption. I mean corruption of your ideals. So are they afraid of losing power? And is this all about that? I question.
I think so.
That's an easy answer. You've got to explain yourself.
If I explain myself, I get into trouble. So, anyway, Dato, thank you very much. I think we had some good exchange.
Thank you.
And I hope maybe in some not too far away, we can have another discussion or session. Maybe something different.
Something different, something happier, perhaps.
About movies. Books, literature, whatever. Anyway, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.